One day, everything changed. Not just tanks, not just bombs, but apps, satellites, and drones in the sky. Can a smartphone be stronger than a bullet? Can the internet help a country survive? This is the story of a modern war. A war where technology changed everything. Chapter 1. The war begins. But not like before. Wars used to be about tanks, soldiers, and bombs, but not this one. This war began with wires, signals, and smartphones. It was cold. It was quiet. And then, the invasion began. February 2022. Russia entered Ukraine. The world held its breath. People thought they knew what would come. Big machines, loud explosions, brave soldiers in muddy fields. But something was different. This wasn't just a war on the ground. It was also a war in the clouds, in space, and inside phones. Yes, phones. Tanks rolled in. Columns of soldiers moved across the border. But above them, drones circled like birds. Some were small, almost invisible. Some could carry missiles. Others only had cameras, but all of them watched. Ukraine saw everything. They didn't need huge armies. They needed information, and they had it. Why? Because of technology. Apps were ready. Volunteers had built systems. Every citizen could help. A woman in her kitchen hears strange sounds. She walks to the window. Soldiers. She takes out her phone. One photo, one click. That image goes straight to the military. A few minutes later, a drone flies above. The soldiers are gone. It was fast. It was quiet. It was modern war. But this wasn't only about drones. Something else was flying above Ukraine. Something higher than jets. Something in space. Satellites. Not military ones, commercial ones. From companies like SpaceX. They gave Ukraine something powerful. Internet. Even when bombs destroyed buildings. Even when cables were cut. Ukrainians stayed connected. Soldiers talked to commanders. Families called each other. Journalists sent photos. Leaders spoke to the world. And all of it happened in real time. Russia was surprised. They expected a short war. They didn't expect TikTok. They didn't expect live videos from the front lines. They didn't expect teenagers with phones and courage. The war spread, not just in towns and forests, but online. Cyber attacks hit banks. Fake news flooded social media. Hackers attacked both sides. But Ukraine had something strong. People. People with phones. People who refused to stay silent. Can you imagine a war where a picture is more powerful than a bullet? This was that war. Technology was not just helping. It was leading, changing the rules, and changing the future. This war had begun. But it was not just about land. It was about who controls information, who moves faster, who sees more. And this was only the beginning. Chapter 2. Eyes in the Sky. The Drone Revolution. They don't sleep. They don't feel fear. They just fly and watch and strike. In the old days, soldiers looked at the sky and feared airplanes. Big, loud, full of bombs. But now, it's not planes they fear. It's drones. Small, silent, always watching. Drones changed everything in the Ukraine war. They were not just tools. They became weapons, eyes, messengers, attackers, and they were everywhere. Some drones flew high, like birds. They watched for hours. They followed tanks and soldiers and sent the videos to commanders. Others were fast and low. They flew close to the ground. They could drop bombs or crash into a target. Boom. One drone, one strike, one less tank. Ukraine used many kinds of drones. Some came from the West, from the US, Turkey, and others. Some were homemade, built in garages, by engineers, by students. Imagine that. A university student helping stop a tank from a laptop. And Russia? They used drones too. Iranian ones, powerful, lethal. They flew into power stations, into homes. They made the nights dark and cold. But Ukraine fought back. Not always with more drones. Sometimes with smarter ones. One soldier told his story. We couldn't move. The enemy was close, but we had a drone. We sent it up. It flew over the trees, and we saw them hiding. We shared the location. Artillery fired. They never saw it coming. It wasn't just about fighting. It was about seeing. In this war, vision meant power. The side that saw more lived longer. But there was danger too. Sometimes drones missed. Sometimes they hit the wrong house or hurt civilians. Because drones don't think. Humans control them, and humans make mistakes. Some drones were cheap, only $300. Others cost thousands. But all of them changed the battlefield. They made war faster, smarter, colder. You don't see the enemy anymore. You see a screen, you press a button, and then someone dies. Is that easier or more dangerous? Children in Ukraine started recognizing the sound of drones, the soft buzz in the sky, like a bee, but deadly. They would run, hide, cover their ears. This is war in the drone age, not just bullets, but machines with wings. And the scariest part? This is just the start. Chapter 3. The App That Fights Back. You don't need a gun. You don't need a uniform. Just a phone and a little courage. In most wars, the soldiers fight. The people watch. They hide. They wait. But in Ukraine, something different happened. The people didn't wait. They acted. And it all started with an app. At the start of the war, a group of tech volunteers came together. They had no weapons, no tanks, but they had laptops and ideas. They built a mobile app. Its job? To spot the enemy. Here's how it worked. If you saw Russian troops or tanks or military trucks? You opened the app, took a photo, added a location, and clicked Send. That's it. Seconds later, the Army had your report. Imagine it. A farmer sees a convoy. He hides behind a tree, takes a quick picture, sends it. That one photo could save a town, could stop an attack, could win a battle. The app didn't ask for your name. It didn't show your number. It kept you safe. And people used it by the thousands. Mothers, taxi drivers, teenagers, even old men used it. One story became famous. An old man saw Russian tanks near his village. He sent a message, then made a joke. He said, "I may not have a gun, but I have a phone, and I know how to aim." The internet loved him. He became a hero, with no bullets, only a message. The app had another power too. It made people feel strong, useful, part of the fight. When fear comes, action helps. When people feel small, helping makes them feel big. Of course, there were risks. If soldiers saw your phone, you could be arrested, or worse. But people still used it, every day. It wasn't a video game. It was real. A simple app, on a cheap phone, could change the course of a battle. This was a new kind of war, one where the army and the people worked together, in real time, through screens, through clicks. Can you stop a tank with a phone? In Ukraine, the answer was yes. Chapter 4. Starlink, Internet in the War Zone. When the power goes out, when the phones go dead, there's still one light in the sky, and it speaks to Earth. War brings silence, not peaceful silence, but the silence of fear. No phone signal, no internet, no way to call for help. That's what happened in many parts of Ukraine. Bombs hit power lines, towers fell, cities went dark and quiet. But then, a signal came from above, from space. In the early days of the war, Ukraine made a call, not to a president, not to a general, but to a businessman. His name? Elon Musk. Yes, the man behind Tesla, rockets, and space. Ukraine asked, "Can you help us stay connected?" He said, "Yes." Soon, boxes arrived, hundreds of them, small, gray, each one with a dish inside. They were Starlink terminals. Starlink is a satellite internet system. It's not like normal internet. It doesn't need cables. It doesn't need towers. It talks directly to satellites. Thousands of them, flying high above the earth. You plug in the dish, point it to the sky, and within minutes, you have internet. Fast, strong, hard to block. In war, this was a game changer. The soldiers could send maps. Officers could plan attacks. Medics could get help. Journalists could report stories. And families could find each other. Imagine a young girl hiding in a basement. No electricity, no phone service, She connects to Starlink and sends one message, "I'm alive." That's hope. That's power. Starlink didn't just help the army, it helped civilians, hospitals, emergency services. Even after the worst bombings, Starlink kept working. Russia didn't like it. They tried to jam the signal, tried to block it, even threatened it. But Starlink kept going, because it was not one satellite. It was many, all moving, all watching. There were problems, of course. Some people said Starlink gave Ukraine too much power. Others feared Russia might hack the system. And in some moments, service was cut off or limited. But overall, it worked, and it saved lives. For the first time in history, a private company helped fight a war, not with weapons, but with Wi-Fi. Some called it the first space-based internet war, and they were right, because this wasn't just about technology, it was about survival. In one village, a Starlink dish was hidden under leaves. The army used it to direct drones. In another town, it sat on top of a school. Children used it to keep learning, even during war. Can you imagine that? A school, half destroyed. But students inside, using laptops, connected to the stars. Starlink became more than a tool. It became a symbol of freedom, of connection, of resistance. In this war, communication is everything. And without Starlink, many would have been cut off, alone, afraid. But with it, they stayed in the fight. They stayed in the world. So next time you look up at the sky, remember this. Sometimes the most powerful weapons aren't weapons at all. They are signals, ideas, lines of light between Earth and space. Chapter 5, Hackers in the Shadows. No tanks, no bombs, no soldiers, just a keyboard, a screen, and silence. But the damage? Real, deep, dangerous. The war was not only on the ground, not only in the sky. It was also in the shadows, behind screens, inside wires, in the hidden world of cyber war. In this world, there are no uniforms, no flags, no borders, only hackers. On both sides, fighting for control. What is cyber war? It's when attacks happen through computers, not with bullets, but with code. A message is sent. A system shuts down. A website breaks. A bank goes offline, and chaos begins. In the Ukraine war, cyber attacks started early, very early, before the first Russian tanks crossed the border. Their hackers had already moved. They targeted power stations, government websites, communication lines. One day, everything seemed normal. The next, screens went black, passwords stopped working, money disappeared. People were scared, not by sounds, but by silence. Ukraine fought back. They had their own cyber experts, young, smart, fast. But they didn't fight alone. A group joined them, a group from many countries. They called themselves the IT Army of Ukraine. thousands of volunteers, some from the US, some from Europe, some even from Russia. Yes, Russians who didn't support the war. They wanted to help Ukraine. They used their skills not to destroy, but to defend. Together, they attacked Russian websites. They blocked propaganda. They sent messages to Russian citizens. We see you. We know the truth. This war is not your war. It was a different kind of battlefield. No guns, no helmets, just brains and speed. In one attack, a Ukrainian hacker group broke into a Russian camera system. Suddenly, Ukrainian music played in a Russian mall. People heard the truth through speakers. It was a small act, but powerful. Russia, too, had its hackers. Trained, organized, dangerous. They tried to shut down Kiev's power grid, tried to crash banking systems, tried to scare people with fake news. Imagine this. You go to withdraw money. The screen says error. You try to call a friend. No signal. You check the news. It says your city has fallen, but it hasn't. That's not a mistake. It's a cyber attack. The goal? Confuse people, break trust, make them feel weak. But Ukraine stayed strong. They moved fast. They learned. They built new defenses. And the people? They didn't give up. Cyber war isn't new, but in Ukraine it became real, visible, emotional. It showed the world something important. You don't need to drop a bomb to break a country's heart. One wrong line of code can shut down a hospital. One false message can start panic. But there's hope, too. Because just like weapons can hurt, technology can also protect. Ukrainian engineers built secure networks. They taught people how to stay safe online, how to check the truth, how to spot lies. They didn't just fight with code. They educated. They empowered. This is the power of cyber defense. Not just attacking back, but protecting the people. As the war continued, cyber attacks came and went. Sometimes strong, sometimes quiet, but they never stopped. And the fight in the shadows still goes on. So the next time you open your phone, check the news, send a message. Remember this. In today's world, every tap, every click is part of something bigger. A war you can't always see, but one that changes everything. Chapter 6. TikTok and the Battlefield. This is not a movie. This is not a game. This is war, filmed on phones and posted to the world. The battlefield used to be a secret place. Only soldiers saw it. Only reporters told the story. But now, everyone sees it, because everyone has a camera. And everyone has TikTok. Yes, TikTok. The app where people dance, where kids sing, where friends post funny clips. But in Ukraine, it became something else. A place to show pain. A place to tell the truth. A place to fight. It started with short videos, a tank rolling into town, an explosion in the distance, a soldier waving goodbye. People filmed what they saw, not as news, not for money, but because the world needed to see. In the early days, TikTok exploded. Ukrainians posted videos of bombs falling, fathers holding their children, citizens hiding in metro stations. Each video was short, real, emotional. No special effects, no actors, only life and death. One video showed a young woman playing the violin in a broken building, her eyes full of tears, the music soft, gentle, full of pain. It went viral. Millions watched. Millions felt. It was war. Not through numbers or maps, but through human hearts. Soldiers posted too. Some filmed from the trenches. They spoke to their families. They shared their thoughts. One said, "I don't know if I'll come home, but I want you to hear my voice." These videos didn't just show what happened. They changed how people understood the war. In the past, we waited for the news. Now, the news waits for TikTok. But TikTok did more than show truth. It also confused. Some videos were fake. Old footage, edited clips, or pure lies, shared millions of times. Russia used TikTok too, to spread fear, to control the story, to make people doubt. One video showed a Ukrainian attack, but it was from another war, another year, another country. But who could tell? That was the danger. Truth and lies mixed together, side by side. Same music, same hashtags. It was hard to know what to believe. So people had to learn, to check the source, to compare videos, to ask questions. Even during war, digital literacy became a weapon. TikTok also gave Ukraine a voice, a powerful voice. Young creators made videos in English. They explained the war. They showed destroyed cities. They spoke to the world. Please help us. Don't forget us. We are still here. And people listened. They shared. They donated. They cared. Because when you see a mother cry or a boy sleep in a subway station, it's no longer politics. It's personal. TikTok became more than entertainment. It became a mirror, a weapon, a shield. Some asked, is it right to post war online? Is it safe? Is it respectful? There were no easy answers, but one thing was clear. The world was watching. In one video, a Ukrainian girl whispers to the camera, "They can take my home, but not my story." And that story reached millions. So yes, this is a new kind of battlefield. Not with walls, but with screens. Not just bullets, but videos. Not just silence, but voices. And the fight for truth still continues, one clip at a time. Chapter 7. A digital army fighting with phones. No guns, no training, just a phone and a choice. to stay silent, or to fight back. In most wars, there are two groups, the army and the people. The army fights, the people run, they hide, they wait. But not in Ukraine. This time, the people stood up, not with weapons, but with phones. It began quietly, a message here, a photo there. But soon it grew. A digital army was born. Imagine this. A taxi driver sees a Russian truck. He turns his car around, takes a picture, marks the location, sends it to the military. That's it. One picture, 1 second. One life saved. In Ukraine, ordinary people became watchers. Eyes on the streets, eyes in villages, eyes in cities. They didn't wear uniforms. They didn't carry guns. But they fought. Some helped translate Russian radio. Some listened to enemy calls. Some tracked drone movements. Some found fake news online and stopped it from spreading. One woman used her old laptop. She spent her nights reading Russian military chats. She found useful info and passed it to the army. She wasn't a spy. She was a school teacher, a mother, a citizen. This was the strength of Ukraine's digital army. Anyone could join. Everyone had a role. Young, old, rich, poor. If you had a phone, you had power. People built secret networks, shared news, warned each other. An app showed where bombs might fall. Another one showed safe paths. Another one reported enemy movements. All of this from phones. The streets were quiet, but the internet was alive. At night, people checked messages, shared locations, looked at maps. It became a habit, like brushing your teeth. Only now, it could save someone's life. Of course, it was risky. If Russian forces found your phone, if they saw messages, you could be arrested, beaten, or worse. But people did it anyway. They were tired of fear, tired of waiting. And when the country calls, you answer. Even children helped. They drew maps, watched the skies, wrote down times when drones passed. They didn't understand everything, but they wanted to help. And their help mattered. This wasn't just war. It was community defense, a nation standing together. Not just soldiers, but students, drivers, mothers, grandfathers. They called it digital resistance. And it worked. Some foreign fighters said, "We have never seen anything like this. The people are everywhere." They were surprised, not by the army, but by the people with phones. One day, Ukraine may build a monument, not of a tank, not of a gun, but of a smartphone, held high. Because that was the real weapon. People said, "In the old days, we fought with steel. Now, we fight with signal." The world watched and learned. Other countries asked, "How can we build a digital army too?" Because they saw something new, something powerful. This war changed more than land. It changed minds. It showed that courage has many forms. You don't need muscles to be brave. Sometimes, you just need to press send. Chapter 8. Russia's Mistake: Underestimating Tech. They came with tanks and guns, but they forgot about the cloud, the code, and the crowd. Russia is powerful. Big army, big weapons, years of training. They thought this war would be quick. A few days, maybe weeks. But they were wrong, very wrong. Why? Because they underestimated technology and the people who used it. When Russian troops crossed the border, they expected roads to be clear, phones to be dead, towns to surrender. Instead, they met resistance. Not just with bullets, but with apps, drones, satellites, and smartphones. In the first weeks, Russian forces moved fast, but they didn't understand the digital space. They didn't expect Ukraine to fight with tech. They didn't expect a country to connect its people and its soldiers in real time. One mistake? Communication. Russian soldiers used old radios, unprotected lines. They even used mobile phones. Ukrainians listened, recorded, shared. Every careless message became a target. In one case, a Russian officer made a long call. His phone was tracked. Minutes later, boom, drone strike, target destroyed. Another mistake? Underestimating civilian power. Russia thought the people would stay silent, scared, still. But Ukrainians became a digital shield. Every citizen was watching. Every phone was a tool. Russia used force. Ukraine used information. And information travels fast. Some Russian soldiers were surprised. They saw videos of themselves online in minutes. How? Because Ukraine's eyes were everywhere. Russia also misjudged the role of the internet. They thought they could cut Ukraine off, shut down networks, stop the signal. But then came Starlink. And suddenly, Ukraine was connected from space. They tried to jam drones, but Ukraine used smarter tech, new software, new tricks. Every time Russia adapted, Ukraine adapted faster. Even the world's reaction surprised Russia. Why? Because of social media, the photos, the videos, the stories. They spread across TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. The world didn't just see a war. They saw faces, families, tears, bravery. And something powerful happened. People started to care, support, donate. Not because of politics, but because of videos shot on phones. Russia didn't expect that. They controlled media at home, but not worldwide. One expert said, Russia brought bombs. Ukraine brought data. And data moves faster than tanks. Some say Russia planned for a 3-day war, but they didn't plan for memes. They didn't plan for an army of teenagers, filming, posting, fighting online. They also didn't expect global companies to help. From Elon Musk's satellites to tech volunteers across the world, Ukraine had backup, not just military, but digital support. In modern war, speed wins. Not just speed on the ground, but speed in the cloud, speed in decisions, speed in sharing truth. Russia's biggest mistake? Thinking war was still about guns. It's not. It's about connection, adaptation, information. And Ukraine proved one thing. Even if your army is smaller, even if your weapons are older, if your mind is sharp, if your tech is strong, and your people are united. Chapter 9. The Future of War. Never the Same Again. This war changed more than maps. It changed how the world fights, how it watches, and how it remembers. War is not new. People have fought for thousands of years, with horses, with swords, with guns, with tanks. But the Ukraine war? It brought something different. A new age of war. We saw it happen. Drones flying low, smartphones in every hand, satellites giving internet from space. The battlefield became digital. In the past, soldiers needed training, years of practice, heavy equipment. Now, a teenager with a drone, a mother with an app, a farmer with a phone. They all became part of the fight. It was no longer just soldiers in uniform. It was everyone. And that changed everything. In this war, we learned that data can kill. A photo can reveal a secret location. A tweet can save lives, or end them. People once feared bombs falling from planes. Now they fear the soft sound of a drone, the buzz in the sky, the warning too late. That is the new fear. But technology didn't only bring danger. It brought hope, too. When the lights went out, Starlink turned them back on. When lies spread online, digital warriors fought for truth. When families were separated, messages from phones kept them close. In the worst moments, technology became a lifeline. So, what comes next? Will all wars be like this? Maybe. Or maybe worse. What if drones become even smarter? What if robots fight future battles? What if decisions are made by machines, not people? These are the questions the world is now asking. The Ukraine war showed us the power of tech, but it also showed the risk. Because every new tool can help or hurt. And now, other countries are watching, learning, planning. They saw how a smaller country, using smart tech and brave people, could stand against a giant. So they ask, what tech should we invest in? What apps can help our defense? How can we prepare for digital war? This is not science fiction. It's today. It's real. And it's here to stay. In Ukraine, people say, We didn't ask for this war, but we had to fight, and we fought with what we had. And what they had was courage, creativity, connection. No one knows when the war will end, or how. But one thing is certain. War will never be the same. Now, battles will be fought on screens and in the skies, with drones, with data, with silence, and behind every soldier. There will be a network, a signal, a voice. Maybe one day wars will stop. Maybe peace will come. But if it doesn't, we now know the future of war. It is not just about strength. It is about information, speed, strategy, and maybe, just maybe, the same tools that help us fight can also help us listen, understand, talk, because in a world full of screens, maybe the greatest weapon is the truth.